1.8 seconds. Charles Barkley.
Johnson around his man, drives, he scores.
Chambers scores. So LeBron Jackson just behind the back. Stoudemire scores. On the road to Allen. Rejected. What a defensive effort that time. And Crowder looking for the alley.
Kevin Durant breaking out the erase with a long one, won't get it, long rebound, finds Booker. This is
Welcome in, Planeteers. It is another week of basketball, and this Suns team, we went 3-1. That's awesome. We are back, baby. We are so back. Or are we? We'll discuss. I'm your host, Fallen Founder, a.k.a. Jake. You know me. Say hi to the co-host, Kevin, the Thriller from Manila. Kevin, say hi to the people. Say hi to the
Hey, Planeteers. Yeah, good to be going live again this Saturday, and can't wait to get started. I got my coffee right here. You don't see it. It's
in front of your face. Put it in front of your face.
It's an iced coffee because we went out to dinner a little while ago. We just made it back just in time for the show.
I love that. So you guys were like, let's get dinner, and then she's like, oh, I'm exhausted, and you're like, I'll take a cup of coffee. I'm about to go live from the Philippines on the Phoenix Suns show.
She did too. Hers is I think the coffee works for her in reverse. That's what she said.
You know what's funny? I'm kind of the same way. I am so I don't really get caffeine headaches. You know that I remember some people used to always be like, oh, I get caffeine withdrawal. If I don't have it, it starts my head hurts. I don't, but I also don't think it really helps me stay awake. Like the times when I have to just do stuff, I don't know, tapping into dad mode or whatever, just like maybe it's just adrenaline at that point. But yeah, I just drink coffee because I just actually somehow think a steaming hot cup of bitter flavor is just pretty good in the morning. I don't know. Reminds me that God does like to punish us in different ways.
It smells good, right?
Mm-hmm. It does smell good. And if you can get a decent cup somewhere, that is important. And it's kind of like this Suns team. It's it hurts so good. It's bitter tasting the entire season. So we're gonna jump right into it, Suns fans. Like I said,
we're 3-1.
3-1. We went 3-1. We wanted 4-0 as we played the Utah Jazz, a thrilling team that hasn't won 10 games yet. The Charlotte Hornets, another just a powerhouse team that's only won 8 games. Then we took on the Atlanta Hawks, who are now 1 game over 500. And then we also took on the Washington Wizards, who happen to have the worst record in the league with only 6 wins. So you know what that means, Suns fans? We lost to the good team that's 1 game over 500 as we continue to learn Coach Bud's system, as we continue to – the big three are adapting to each other. The Beal's learning his new role. Yusuf Nurkic is not having a flu game like Jordan, but, he's got the flu. He can't play for over a week. I tell you what, I don't know about you, Kevin. This is Tim Tompkins. This is a throwback to the Planeteers that know. Tim Tompkins used to be the host of the Sun Solar Panel with Dave King and Espo from PHNX, or now PHNX. And I always used to get a kick out of it. And I remember Dave King did, and Espo always would give him crap about it because Tim would be like, he used to play like pickup games religiously. And he'd be like, when I'm on the court and I'm doing this, if I sprain my ankle, it hurts for like maybe a few days, but then I'm back. And then they always had to remind Tim that he was not a professional athlete that travels and makes millions of dollars for this. But I do have to say, Kevin, Nurk's been out with the flu for close to a week. It's one hell of a flu. Is it just because he's almost 300 pounds? Maybe it just like really drains you a lot more because you just got to move all that body mass around.
Well, it's probably more of, I have a flu and I don't play games anyway. So why the hell should I join the team?
Well, we'll talk a little bit about that because there is at least one game that I'll point out where it's like, oh, you know what would have helped? A
Nurkic.
near 300-pound 7-footer that could have helped out, I think, a little bit. So
Oh my goodness.
I'll
game.
say, hi to some of our regulars here in the chat. I see Matt. I see Darth Vader. I see Michael. I see another Michael. We got the Michaels in the house. Suns Fever. Good morning to all of you. And good morning. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Suns Planet, we're building a planet around our favorite pastime, frustration with our favorite team. That is our favorite pastime at this point. It's amazing to think. I still go back every now and then. I have to remind myself. There was 10 years where we were just telling ourselves lies. We didn't think they were lies at the time, but we were like, all right, listen, we got Marquise Chris. This guy is the number one pick. First round draft pick. He's going to be phenomenal. Dragon Bender. We've got a dragon. I don't know if you remember who was. I forget the group that put it out. It was called Game of Zones. Obviously, a take from Game of Thrones, but it was with the NBA players and basketball teams in cartoon form. And I still remember they were going to merge the Sacramento Kings and the Phoenix Suns together to be House King Suns, or should it be House Sun Kings? And they couldn't quite remember. But the owner of the Kings was like, "Well, we're just here to see if you truly have a dragon." And the Dragon Bender goes, "Ooh, ooh." He's in the background. Yeah. And that's what we were building our team with. Marquise Chris, Dragon Bender. I don't know. Was Alex Len a part of that era? I think
it was.
One of the
Alex
greatest
Len was there.
in history. We picked him, 5th overall that year? I think so.
I think so. And then
Josh Jackson era. The timeline in general. There's a whole Suns podcast out there called The Timeline.
Timeline.
It all came to this, Suns fans. Planeteers, it all came down to this. It came down to a Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal off the bench, Devin Booker team that is struggling. But we went 3-1.
Who's that?
We are 500.
Suns point guard.
Tyler Ulis or was it Kendall Marshall or no? Who?
The one that got
Isaiah Cannon.
Cannon. Yeah.
Oh no, Cannon! It was he's like a gun. Yeah, that's why Suns fans liked him. They're like, unload the cannon. It was basically we fell in love with the guy's name because we just hoped that somehow that would make him play better. Okay, yes, yeah. Thank you, Voida. Devon Reed. I actually like Devon Reed. He kind of bounced around a little bit. I think he ended up with the Nuggets for a while. It's kind of a decent little 3-and-D guy.
I don't.
Yeah, we were really telling ourselves some stuff.
Of the bad days,
those were the bad days, not today. Today we're 500, second highest payroll in the league, on almost completely empty war chest of in terms of picks, and we even have a trade to talk about. How am I burying the lead today, Kevin? You got to help me out here on this. You got to tell me I'm way off base. I feel like I don't know. Did you ever see the baseball movie Major League?
No.
Oh my gosh! Of all the time, I'm this close to just dropping off this podcast right now and going and pulling a clip of the great Bob Uecker, rest in peace, who called games for the Milwaukee Brewers, but in the movie for the Cleveland Indians, and he was usually pretty good. And then of course a guy on the side would just kind of occasionally chip in and be like, ball 2, and that would be what it. But Bob Uecker kind of progressively gets drunker throughout the show as the team struggles, and just a bit outside as the ball goes flying past the catcher, just a bit outside. So that's what I'm feeling right now, Planeteers. We are just a bit outside, but let's go ahead and let's talk about. Let's talk about Nick Richards real quick.
Richard, what's happening?
So what's happening? I guess I kind of answered the question. What's happening with the Suns team? Kevin, you know the answer. We're trading Josh Okogie. We traded Josh Okogie, 3 second-round draft picks, and in exchange, we get the great Nick Richards, backup center for the Charlotte Hornets, and a second-round pick back. How are you feeling about that? If you could grade it for both teams. Let me know.
For me, it gets the Suns some help in terms of rebounding the ball, and I know that Hawks conversation that we're gonna have later on is gonna be bloody. So he does help, but he doesn't fix all the Suns issues.
Mhm.
Do you hear a crying baby? Sorry, that's my baby.
No,
Um,
I hear Suns fans.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's us crying. But yeah, so if it is for me, if I'm gonna grade it, I would say probably B plus, just because we're gonna have a center who dunks and who grabs
It's
boards.
amazing how
Definitely.
the Suns fans have been pining since the DeAndre Ayton era. Well, even before that, honestly, we just thought Da was going to solve that, but then he didn't. Low motor. We send Da away because he was soft, pretty much. He liked to shoot fadeaway jumpers for a 7 foot, 280 pound man. He liked to shoot fadeaway jumpers in the mid range. We bring in Yusuf Nurkic. We know his limitations. They're even worse than we thought. We bring in quality backup, Mason Plumlee. He is never going to be a starter again in this league. His
Oh, for sure.
limitations are real too. It's not Father Time catches up to everyone. Even LeBron will eventually have to retire. Mason Plumlee will have to do it sooner than LeBron ever does. But Oso Ighodaro, great pickup by the Suns, second round pick, athletic. Still needs to eat some breakfast burritos, maybe add 20 pounds, sculpt it out a little bit,
Yeah.
get in professional shape. But otherwise, he's doing well. But we've been missing that guy that can pump up the crowd, slam the ball through the basket, through contact. You got Nick Richards filling that hole. Huh? That
Yeah,
sounds
you
sounds bad.
had
Does Nick
yeah,
Richards fill your hole?
no. What kind of question was that? But oh goodness. But we thought we had that in Drew Eubanks, from the past, but 20 games in, we found out the worst. But anyway, I graded B plus. In terms of the Suns, you had to let go 3 second round picks, but you got one back. But I don't think three is should. I don't think it should have been three. Maybe just 2 seconds and
Okay. Well, yeah.
uh,
This
for
is
the
interesting.
guy.
Suns Fever's in disagreement with you. He says a D for us in the trade. It's a B for Charlotte. Interesting. Yeah, and this is I remember Voida bringing this up on I think it was Suns Jam. The DA or that Nick Richards is the Timu version of DeAndre Ayton, the cheaper version of DA. Could be very true. And Richard, or excuse me, Michael is worried about that he's turnover prone. Don't worry, he's going to fit right in with this team.
Yeah,
Not even going to
he's gonna
notice.
fit
You're
right
not
in.
even going to notice who's doing the turnovers. It's just going to happen every game,
Oh my
especially
goodness.
when the other team gets on a run. We will start turning the ball over, and you won't notice which guy is to blame for that one. No,
For Charlotte,
yeah. No, go.
w-
Here's my question for you, Kev, on this. So you said you thought it was B plus for us. 3 second-round picks. We get one back. Josh Okogie, let's break it down, right? Josh Okogie was, at this point, he was my runaway leader for the Dan Marley Hustle Award again this year. He was
yeah,
the guy that we wish, another movie reference, maybe you haven't seen it, but Rudy. For all the Notre Dame fans out there, Darth Voida again in the chat. The movie Rudy, which some people are like super down on since they found out how fake it was. But either way, there's a scene where Rudy, who all he does is try hard in practice and works his tail off. He's never going to get to dress and actually be on the field with the team. And he's like, I'm just never going to get above the preparation team. And the coach says, I wish I could put your heart in some of my players' bodies. That's how I felt about Josh Okogie. Like,
yeah,
I want to take Josh Okogie and put him into a Kevin Durant's body, or put him into a Yusuf Nurkic, or if we still had DeAndre Ayton. Oh my God, could you imagine DA with Josh Okogie's motor? Would have been phenomenal. So I see we got our man Bruce in the back, but I want to make sure you get the first crack at this. So we, as I mentioned, we don't have much stock in the cupboard. 3 second rounders out. We claw one back. So we have 1 second rounder. We have the 2031 first
31.
round. We get rid of our motor guy, a good defender, a good offensive rebounder. And we get a guy that statistically 8.9 points a game, 7.5 rebounds. He was a second round pick. He's a 7-footer, 245 out of Jamaica. Let's see. I mean, he's not a super young guy. He's not old either, but he's been in the league for this is 5th year. Are you seeing him become the starter? That's not the right question. What do I want to ask? So if you look at the numbers, he just doesn't look that much better in terms of stat wise than Yusuf Nurkic. I actually think Nurk is a better passer, and he might actually, and Nurk's a better rebounder too. But Nick can dunk the ball. That's where I feel like we're at. In terms of interior defense, I think Nurk actually grades slightly higher. Guys, and it's always hard to kind of analyze that, because you could say, well, Nurk doesn't block a lot of shots. Nobody bothers a lot of shooters when they come towards him. So, sorry, and I'm throwing a whole bunch of garbage stuff at you to try and get you to explain why you gave the B+ grade. You like the Nick Richards pickup. So break it down for us a little bit. And while you do that, we'll let Bruce come into the room.
Oh, Bruce is there. There we
What's
go.
up, boys? Sorry about that.
Not a problem. See, East Coast guys, I mean, it's got to be what? It's got to be a second breakfast time for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
you're just in time, Bruce. We'll kick it over to you in a sec, but I want the Kevin breakdown of this.
Of course.
Yeah. So first of all, like I said, he just really he kind of fixed that that rebounding problem, as we have seen in his averages, and I think the energy that he would bring off on the starting lineup, basically he's going to be a better finisher than Nurk, because basically he's just going to catch lobs and
yeah, exactly.
he's
he
going to
doesn't
catch
even do
lobs
layups. He does set power shots, a foot from the basket.
Right.
Yeah.
And both are not 3-point shooters at all. Nurk
Nick
probably
Nick
is
Nick doesn't even
better
attempt them.
Yeah.
No, if this was a spacing concern, then we failed miserably.
Yeah.
Nurk at least will put it in at 30% clip.
Yeah, but then the issue is in the rebounding department. So it really helps a lot, and a guy that can actually jump, more than 2 centimeters. So
it's true. Okay,
that's for me.
No,
now
I don't know. For me, I don't think the Hornets are going anywhere, and so I think for them to offload Nick Richards, who would have. He's not going to start for him. He backs up Mark Richards is their actual starter, or Mark Williams. Mark Williams, I think.
Mark Williams, the guy who gets
and so
the first half.
they pocket basically 3 second-round draft picks, and they're getting an energy guy that they'll probably be able to cut because his contract's not guaranteed next year. We purposely inflated it for this reason. So as sad as I am to see Josh Okogie go, for the excitement and energy he brought, that's why we overinflated his contract to try and make him a more desirable deal to try and acquire somebody else. So I get that aspect of it. I don't get, and it's amazing how valuable second-round picks have become, because you've got a handful of teams that have got everyone else's first-round picks that now second-round picks all of a sudden seem to have value. But we basically lost 2 just to bring in Nick Richards, who plays this year and will play next year.
I think that's
I don't know. I'd give it a C for us, and I'd say a B for the Hornets. I think it was a smart. They pocket a couple second-round picks. They don't want to try and win. They see where they're going at this point. Bring in an energy guy that's going to show their young players how to hustle, and Nick Richards might accidentally help your team win. Josh Okogie's not going to really do it on his own, but maybe he can kind of rub off on the players a little bit. And in the end, we do get well, here's the other question too, Kevin, real quick. Do you want him to start moving forward? I mean, you've
seen some deficiencies in terms of defense when Oso's out there. I mean, Oso is
Right.
great, but you bring in a 5-year center, then definitely coverages would be much better in terms of
Mhm.
defense, and as well as boxing out and all that stuff. So yeah, I'd prefer for him to start over Oso at this point. But that's not to say that Oso is not going to be better than him in a few years, maybe over the course of the season.
True. Okay. Well, let's go over to Bruce. Welcome in, Bruce. Bruce is our special guest today. That's why he's late. That's what makes him special. No, but welcome in, Bruce, from the Suns Digest channel. You've seen him also here on the planet before. Bruce, we haven't even gotten into this amazing slate of games where we went a fantastic 3-1. Everything's fixed for this team, and we're on fire again. No, but
We are,
we
we
haven't
are
gotten
so
to that.
back.
We're just diving into the Nick Richards trade. Break it down for us. What trade grades do you give each team?
So once again, thank you guys for having me back on. Sorry I was a little bit late here, but like I said, I think it was great for the Suns to be able to get a trade for Nick Richards. I think that he's kind of the ideal big that they really wanted. He's been able to start for Mark Richards for the last one season while he's been dealing with injuries, and he looked pretty solid with those numbers. And the Suns need that interior presence. They need that defensive piece in the center to hold down the floor. With Yusuf Nurkic, teams are just able to, or without Yusuf Nurkic with these DMPs, they're able to just slice by the defenders and get 20 points and 20 rebound games, which cannot be happening with this Suns team. And I do think Nick Richards brings some of that. He'll at least box out in underneath the basket, be able to kind of play against some of those other bigs, and might not be able to take down like a Nikola Jokic or an Anthony Davis at some points, but can still like lock them down to some points, I believe, and kind of help out this Suns team. And then it ultimately kind of brings down to, I think, for the Suns in the center department is what does Yusuf Nurkic want to do? If Nurkic wants to come back as a backup, I have no argument with it, and I think he'd be a solid backup big for the team. But from the reports that I've seen or saw, like it says that he might be a fourth string. So if that's the case, I don't necessarily know if that's what we want. But if Nurkic is going to play, if Nurkic is going to be stubborn, I think this is kind of a move for now that can kind of help us in this season, and then next year kind of evaluate that center position as well, with having, like Kevin brought up, Oso and having Mason Oz, those third and fourth centers. I think it gives the Suns a lot of kind of utility. Mason's kind of that interior big presence, that defensive guy, a little bit slower, not really that great offensively as we've seen these last couple of games, but Oso obviously has that offensive touch. So depending on if the Suns want to go offense or defense, I think they can kind of use that third center with them as kind of a, like, depending on matchup size, I guess you could say. And then with Josh Okogie, I think you guys hit it on the nail. He's like a great energy guy for Charlotte. I think he plays a similar role kind of to Josh Green or who's the other guy they have on their team? Cody Martin, the one that the Suns were trying to get, just like as a defensive kind of like wing guy that's kind of do it your all type thing. And I think he could either be like a replacement for one of those guys if they're looking to move off of him, or like you guys said, could be just an energy guy for their locker room, and then could kind of just since he has the non-guaranteed contract, can be obviously taken off. But the Suns did get a draft pick this year, which was nice to see.
Right. Oh, side note, I just noticed this. We've got your rival in the chat.
Oh, we got my boy.
Digest.
We got Marcel in here. Tell Marcel what's up.
We got Mavericks Digest. You need new ownership. Let me tell you something about little Mark Cuban, and he sold the team. You guys don't even have an ownership group. You guys are lightweights. You're losers. Luka Doncic is injured. Forget the season. No, it's so real quick again, the grades for each team.
So grades, I would give the Suns a B. I would give the Hornets, I'll say a B as well, because I think they still get off what they wanted. They didn't get to take on Yusuf Nurkic's contract, which was ultimately what they wanted to do. They got to still get off Nick Richards and got some second round capital for it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So you think they would have preferred to get Nurk in the deal?
Oh no, I think they wouldn't. I think they
okay,
were happy. They were happy they didn't get Nurkic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the whole Nurkic saga is going to be very interesting moving forward. We've been pro Nurk, or not, I don't want to say pro Nurk. We've been Nurk defenders, Nurk explainers.
We've been positive on him.
Exactly. That his job is to play interior defense and rebound, and he is a good passer too. Set some decent screens. I would have liked to have seen him get more comfortable with the 3-point shot, but that's okay. It wasn't going to be his strength. But I didn't think, oh man, now that we got Nurk, we're going all the way. Like that was never in my mind a thought. I thought he could help out and win some games, be a quality big. And I still think he is that. But as you alluded to, Bruce, he may have soured on this whole team. I saw AZ Hoops, Arizona Hoops, talking about that he now has unfollowed Devin Booker and Kevin Durant on social media, which, as we know in the modern era, means I don't want to be friends with them anymore. We're friends. I'm not even following you on social media, which is hilarious because they follow like people from other teams, but like if you want to send a signal, you stop following your own teammates. You make sure it becomes personal. So Nurk no longer follows our best players. I'm guessing he doesn't love the idea of coming in as a backup big. And honestly, I don't blame him, but I just, it's going to be a tough contract just because it's guaranteed for next year. And, unless there's another team that clearly is like, we're not going anywhere. We're happy to jettison because and it might happen. I think it could. There's going to be some teams that are bad, but not the worst. Kind of like the Wizards, or no, the Wizards are the worst right now. But I mean, a team that's realizing we're not going to get Cooper Flagg most likely. We're going to get a 2nd through 7th pick probably. Let's take on Nurk's contract because we're still going to be bad next year too, and jettison what we can. So that's sorry. That one threw me. Does anyone follow you guys anymore? He does. He does. He's still on the team. He's just out indefinitely. But let's break down this week real quick, Planeteers. We've talked enough about that trade, that game-breaking trade that's going to shift all of our fortunes. And let's talk about the Utah Jazz. Man, I can hear how nasally I sound. That's great. We started off last Saturday, going back to after our show, with a blitzkrieg of a game, 114 to 116, as we just smoked the Utah Jazz by 8 points. A powerhouse team, as we mentioned earlier, the 9-28 Utah Jazz, and we won by 9. I don't know, it's interesting as we're going to talk about with a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams are not trying to win; they're trying to develop what the players they can to possibly trade them away, get draft capital, and see who might be able to kind of fit with them long term. The Jazz, of course, still have Lauri Markkanen to play him a whole lot, actually, over 31 minutes in this game. He led the Utah Jazz starters with 24 points. Walker Kessler, a dream of Suns fans everywhere, got 16 and 13. And it just kind of, this was the week that we knew we wanted to do well. And with Nurk out with the flu and other stuff, DNP this game, out with attitude issues. This was an opportunity for Mason Plumlee and Oso to step up throughout this week. Mixed results, to say the least. But the Suns were led by a absolutely on fire Devin Booker, who had 34 points in this game, shooting 12 of 26 of 12 from 3. Where's this Devin Booker been? 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Kevin Durant, of course, backing him up with 25 points of his own. And I'm just going to touch on the centers again real quick. Mason Plumlee gets the start, 6 points, 10 rebounds. Not a bad game for him, but against the Utah Jazz. So we got the win. But we already know how the rest of this week's going to go. So I don't know. What do you guys takeaways from? How much can we take away from this Jazz game? Except at this point, is it just, oh, thank God we got the win against a terrible team? I feel like
it's been like that
where
like
we're
forever.
at, right? Because we're nervous
Yeah.
since that Hornets loss, where it's like we could fall asleep at the wheel. It's going to happen again.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. I feel like a lot of Suns fans are on kind of edge right now after going into every game, even today's game as well, going against the Pistons. Like the Pistons are a quality team in the Eastern Conference this year, and last time they played them in Phoenix, it was a close battle. So I feel like this will be another good one, and I feel like since we're on the teetering of the 500 scale, every game the fans are keeping their eyes glued on just in case we do drop below that 500, just because I think that's when the panic mode really sets in with the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've noticed from like on Twitter Spaces and like from like listening and like being on social media and stuff while the games are going on.
Well, and as we've talked about in the previous episodes, like this is a stretch run of absolutely trash teams. With the, we're going to play the Cavaliers next week. Obviously, a great team this year, but for the most part, I mean, the Jazz, the Hornets, and the Wizards. I don't even know if they've combined for 20 wins yet between the three of them. No, they might be over just at 20 wins if you combine all three teams, which still is absolutely terrible. And then like mediocre mid-tier teams, I'd call them. And we thought we had built a roster and an organization that was ready to compete with the big dogs. So you expect in a 10-game run of these kind of teams to go 8-2, 9-1. And I think you're right, Bruce. It's like every time I watch one of these games now, whether it's, the Washington Wizards or not, and we'll talk about that in a bit, and I'm just like, clench your butt cheeks. It's going to be tough.
It's like every game is a trap game, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. We're either not favored, or if we are favored, it's a trap. This is not a team that takes care of its business.
For sure.
At least it doesn't feel like we do.
Otherwise, we'd be in a safe spot or a good spot right now.
Right. But I don't know. Kevin, any thoughts on the win over the Jazz?
Well, this is the start of a crazy Devin Booker run that we are on right now. So for the last 4 or 5 games, Devin Booker is 34 or averaging 34 a game, and has been passing well. Don't you guys think? For the last 8 to 10 games, 5.5 assists in the last 4. So this is the Devin Booker that we expected at the start of the season. It's finally coming out.
Well, it's fascinating to watch how Booker, I think when Beal got moved to the bench, we were all watching, how's he going to respond? He'd have a good game and then maybe an okay game and then a good game and an okay game. And we're like, let's really keep an eye on him. And then meanwhile, Booker's like, thank God you got him to the bench because watch me do everything I've always wanted to do for this team. It's amazing. It's just cleared things up. We always wanted them to coexist together.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it's giving me flashbacks to the old 3-headed point guard dragon that I don't know if you guys recall the Isaiah Thomas, Goran Dragic, Eric Bledsoe triple threat that sucked. But we wanted the Beal Booker experience to work. It appears to work the best if they are in different sides of the rotation sometimes.
Going back to that trio before IT was there, the Dragon, the Dragon. Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe was actually a good duo, don't you think?
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the year that they made the playoffs, winning 46 games?
I think we
was it short.
I think we came
they,
up like I think we went 40 and 42 or something, and I thought it was what. Oh gosh, now I'm blanking on who the coach was, but I think he was a rookie coach too. But he was the former Suns player that I just remember it was interesting because I think Ryan McDonough was the GM and basically everyone was kind of saying the quiet part out loud, which is like, it's too bad this team was too good because it would really set them back on draft expectations. But yeah, so we're definitely seeing a little bit of book magic. So let's go ahead and give him his drop this week.
Book 'em.
Oh, here I go. Trying to do like a Hamo wiggle. I don't know. Wiggle the shoulders a little bit. I'm too stiff in the Midwest, I guess.
We miss Hamo.
Yeah. Good book. I'm loving it though. I'm loving this new book. I'm loving the aggressive book. And it's not just him looking for a shot, as you guys point out. The passing's improved, the numbers are up. And one guy whose numbers are down, and he won't get his drop this week, and that's good because we don't have a drop. Josh, we need you. We need you to work on these drops, buddy. But Tyus Jones goes 0 for 4 in this game, 0 for 3 from 3. Finishes with a amazing stat line of 0 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. I'm on the Voidologic train on this. That the benching of Beal is not a indication that Beal has been bad. it's an indication that we can't have Beal and Booker on the same floor with Tyus at the same time. And Tyus, we're learning why he's always been a phenomenal backup point guard in this league. And he probably can't be your starter. Bruce, any thoughts on Tyus Jones' recent struggles?
Yeah, so I was one of the big believers in Tyus Jones kind of coming over to Phoenix. I thought it was one of those perfect fits for this team. And unfortunately, like John has, like you had mentioned and John has pointed out over on Twitter, it just hasn't been working with Beal, Booker, and Tyus Jones in this lineup. Just defensively, the 3-guard lineup hasn't worked. We've even seen Budenholzer run some 4-guard lineups at some points with like Grayson Allen out there. And it just sometimes just hasn't really been working with this team. And I just think defensively with Booker, Beal, and Tyus trying to have the ball, trying to play make, trying to set up the offense. It just hasn't been really working. They've been having some turnovers as well. I don't think that's really Tyus' fault, as Tyus has been playing through the ball hands, but a lot of those turnovers are when they're trying to get the ball to the wings, or when the wings do have the balls in their hand, trying to set up the offense and stuff like that. I think Tyus would be better to be moved to the bench for this team just to see how it would work, because we've seen Booker and Durant look better with Dunn in this lineup. And if they still want to add more defensive pieces, I just think maybe Booker might have to play the point guard alongside another wing. But I think that's kind of where I stand. I like the move at first, but it hasn't been looking as great as I thought it would kind of going into the season.
It is interesting. Quick stat for you guys. Since the start of the new year, Tyus Jones has scored in double figures once in 7 games. He's scored 16 points against the Atlanta Hawks when we beat them on January 9th. He has had 10 assists in one game against the Washington Wizards most recently. So, we thought it was a steal at the time. I guess it still is a steal. I mean, he's certainly worth more than a minimum contract. As Michael P's talking, there might be some talk of Tyus getting moved. I mean, a player of his quality on a minimum contract could be very good. Basically anyone could trade for him, really, because it's a minimum contract. And we could, see something like that, because it's just, as much as we wanted a point guard, now we realize, well, we do want a point guard. They just have to be bigger than Tyus Jones. So I think that's what we've learned from that.
You think the fit of Monty Morris is better?
Marginally. I'd say marginally. But obviously not yet. Not enough to start him, at least in Coach Bud's mind. So, I think the marginal improvement that you would get on defense is kind of wiped out by the shooting and creativity that Tyus would bring, which is probably marginally better with Tyus. So, yeah, I just think, I don't know. We need Ben Simmons. Yeah, I get to say that now that Hamo isn't here. Ben Simmons, greatest player of all time. And we'll quickly find out if Hamo still watches this show. He'll send me a DM. That guy's absolute trash, and why are you even talking about him on the show? But let's talk about the vengeance game that we had against the Charlotte Hornets. Where the Suns ended up winning this one, thank God, 120-113, with a 12-point fourth quarter, 27-15, 12-point differential fourth quarter that helped seal the deal. And this was interesting because obviously we've been hearing a little bit more about the possible trades at this point. Nick Richards still in the Hornets jersey at this point, and he got 4 points. 5 rebounds in just under 18 minutes. But otherwise, the Hornets were led by LaMelo, who takes a ton of shots, by the way. I was listening to NBA radio, and it was Eddie Johnson was talking about it. And they said, LaMelo's not a great shooter. He just takes a ton of shots. Like, he's a volume shooter, and they said he's good in other ways, but not great in other ways. And it's just kind of interesting. He's certainly been a bit of a overrated player, I think. I think the Hornets would be fine moving away from him at some point. He's not going to be the face of that franchise.
You get 25 points off 25 shots.
Yeah, it's remember Monty Ellis of the Golden State Warriors and
Monty Ellis.
Oh yeah. It's got vibes like that. Like, some games he'll go hot, of course, but you should if you shoot that often. You should have some games like that. Leading the team, though, in this game is, again, excuse me. That was the wrong one. Yeah, let's go with this one. It still is. Devin Booker, 30 points, 10 of 20 shooting. That's how you do it, LaMelo. 8 assists. Kevin Durant, once again, backing up his cohort, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. And as we're going to touch on throughout this episode, Mason Plumlee gets to start just over 15 minutes, 2 points, 5 rebounds. Oso gets a lot more playing time, over 30 minutes, 10 points, 6 rebounds. And we're starting to see the seeds planted for that Hawks game. Why are we not rebounding the ball? Doesn't matter who we're putting there. Nobody's helping. They're not helping the centers, or the centers aren't getting the ball. But that was the takeaway from this game. Josh Okogie didn't play in this one. Obviously, we wanted to keep him, wrapper fresh for the Hornets for the trade. Make sure that trade ends up going through. And the Hornets are like, we'll play Nick Richardson. If he blows out his knee, you still have to take him. No, just a theory. Any other takeaway from the Hornets game besides that we had maybe a slight sigh of relief, like, oh, okay, beat the Jazz, taking care of business, beat the Hornets. They beat us last time. And I think the Hornets hadn't played in like a week due to the LA wildfires. They were supposed to play both LA teams, so they were kind of just waiting for us.
Yes, they were fresh off the bat, but we showed them we rebounded the ball well.
Well, good thing we did everything else right early.
Exactly, just to alleviate that rebounding issue. Oh my goodness!
Right, exactly. Oh gosh, I'm actually surprised that I'm not seeing it yet in the chat. Somebody saying, if we played Bull, we would have gotten more rebounds.
I was gonna say that was my kind of takeaway was where was Bull in all of this? I know he got some recent run in the last couple of games, but Bull with these games where the Suns were not rebounding, I think it could have been a valuable piece to just thrown out there.
I feel like every time we throw Bull out there, we're just like, oh yeah, that's why we don't throw him out there.
Well, that's true. That's true. But he does bring some excitement. I remember versus that Pacers.
No,
game,
exactly.
Versus the Pacers,
I used to say this all the time last year.
Plays, and I was like, okay, that's nice.
Bull is like, yeah, he's. Oh gosh, I forget. What movie is it from? Is it from Wedding Crashers, or is it there was some Owen Wilson? No, okay. There was maybe a terrible movie. I thought it was okay. Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn teamed up in this movie called The Internship, where they get an internship at Google. And
I love that.
And they were talking about how they're like, oh, we spent all of our years in sales, and Owen Wilson's like, we're going up against these guys that studied like physics and computer engineering. What are we going to do? And he's like, we're going to be that awkward 7-foot Lithuanian on the end of the bench waving the towel. That's Bull. I feel like. He's got to sit there and pump up the crowd. If he gets in the game, the crowd's like, wow, look at this guy. He's huge. We don't expect him to do well. And every time he puts the ball in the basket, we're just like, it's like watching a little kid go, toss a ball into a bucket on the Bozo show back in the 80s and be like, oh, he did it. It was 1 foot away from him, but we're so impressed that he was able to get it done. So Bull brings the excitement, not by anything that he really does, but just by his mere presence. So maybe Bud's going to have to utilize that more. Just like, oh, you know what? We're giving him the Bull treatment. Like when, help me out, Kevin. Who was that coach? I kept butchering his name last episode that was on the Suns. Igor Kokoshkov? Kokoshkov, yes. Yep. And I still remember when we went to play, I think the Utah Jazz, and he said, hey, they better be ready because we're bringing Jimmer Fredette. And then Jimmer, like, stopped Devin Booker because from getting, like, I don't know,
60.
so many points or something because he kept taking too many shots. He's like, tell him to get ready. We're bringing Jimmer. Yeah, that's what Bud needs to do. Get ready. I'm sending in Bull. Just for like a minute, just to like piss off the other team. Just like, how do we guard this guy? And then after 1 minute, it's figured out. But yeah, Bull, the point a minute man. That's right. He'll get 1 minute of play and he'll get you one point. And then he'll sit back down because we'll go, oh my God, what are we doing here with Bull on the court? So that's it. Let's take a little break. Let's head into the club. Let's get a dance. Clear our noses, whatever we got to do. But we should do the club with the music, not the one just with the dancing.
What's the name of that nightclub of yours again?
You talking about the Boom Boom Room?
Yeah, the Boom Boom Room. That's it. Funky. Yeah. Funky. Yeah. Funky.
You know what I like about this is not only do we have Darth Void in the chat, but he doesn't usually get to be in the chat, and now he can throw out his awesome trade ideas like I usually do on other people's programs.
Podcast.
And then you have other people being like, okay, thanks, Voida. Like 2 second-round picks for Tyus Jones, trash trade. But basically, Void is probably sitting back right now, diving into a breakfast burrito, going, you know what would be cool? 2 second-round picks for Tyus. That's my take. That's my guesstimate about what's currently taking place. He might be sitting back smiling, going, "That's exactly what's happening right now." So we then moved on to face the Atlanta Hawks, and as both teams were fighting to, either I think become 500 teams or get above 500, and it would become the Atlanta Hawks as the Phoenix Suns just. I don't know. It felt uncomfortable the whole game. I was nervous, of course, the last time we played them because Clint Capella, even though he only played 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes in this game, he grabs 8 rebounds. He's that guy that, I always think of him with his time with the Rockets. He dunks, he rebounds, he blocks shots. He does kind
everything.
I think Nick Richards will become.
Yeah, actually.
A more athletic Clint Capella. And in this game, we just, I mean, poop the bed. Is that a fair enough description? I felt like we really should have had it. There were some missed opportunities. We let Trae Young go off.
41.
But he took 13 of 31.
43.
But he got 43 points out of the deal. And of course, I'm bearing the lead. I'm going to butcher his name, as I always do. Onyeka Okongwu. Off the bench, their backup center, power forward, 22 points on 9 of 14 shooting, 21 rebounds, 10 on the offensive glass. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why the Phoenix Suns lost. It wasn't really Trae Young. It was much more Okongwu. As the Suns were again led by Devin Booker shooting well, 12 of 23, 7 of 14 from 3, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. The 35 points. Kevin Durant was doing his part, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Mason Plumlee, 3 points, 5 rebounds. Oso Ighodaro, 4 points, 5 rebounds. Yeah, you guys got to rebound the ball. You guys have to rebound the ball. The team was out rebounded the C.
I was going to say,
Suns 37 to 54.
I believe in that game, Onyeka Okongwu also had more offensive rebounds than I believe the whole Phoenix Suns did as a team. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but on one of those back-to-back 2020 games, they did allow more offensive rebounds than what.
Yep, Okongwu had 10. The Suns combined had 6.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
That's the issue right there.
I know Kevin Durant's never going to be a great rebounder at this point in his career. I mean, he's not a bad rebounder, but when you think like he's a 7 foot tall man, you think maybe he'll grab a few more. He's always comfortable in that 7 to 8 range. Amari Stoudemire-esque, where we always were like, oh, we're going to need you to grab more rebounds, Amari. And he's like, I can get you 8. And the rest is going to be tough. That's Kevin Durant. But when your centers are Plumlee and Ighodaro, everyone's got to rebound more. And I'm not laying it completely at KD on this one. KD had 8. He led our team with rebounding. It's not his fault on this one. But we do need Tyus Jones had 1. Booker had 5. Ryan Dunn had 1 rebound. And it was on the offensive glass. Thanks for trying, Ryan. I don't know. Okay, takeaways. We've been hammering the center stuff long enough, but Bruce, what do you think? This was obviously the one that I think had we won, Suns fans would go, okay, maybe we're starting to put things together. Not like big turnaround, but it's hard to be like, oh, we beat the Jazz, oh, we beat the Hornets. But if we did that and then beat the Hawks and kept it going, but we lost to the one okay team on this big road trip.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. I believe since seeing that 3-0 win streak, a lot of Suns fans want to see them continue that on this road trip, and that Atlanta game was the first one. Also, they hadn't beaten Atlanta, I believe, since Devin Booker was in high school, and they still failed to do that once again in Atlanta. So just having types of those things and just trying to be fueled by that was tough. I also think something that was not mentioned as well was obviously we know Josh Okogie didn't play in this game, but I think that was because due to the fact that they were trying to trade him and knew that the deadline was obviously coming, they wanted to keep him out similar to the Hornets game, but he would have obviously been able to limit Trae Young from going off for 43 points by being that great defensive guard. But I think that this was the kind of game that told the front office that a move needed to be made in the next 24 to 48 hours, or if it didn't happen, something bad was going to happen. Because having 2 back-to-back games where you allowed 20 points and 20 rebounds versus Mark Williams and Onyeka Okongwu, who are solid young developmental bigs, but not top 10 bigs in the NBA, is a clear issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
point.
sure. Good point. Are you waiting for
Anything
me?
else to add, or just a good point?
No, all the points are good.
Nailed it.
Oh my goodness.
Nailed it.
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, if you just give up, 20 offensive rebounds and let them score 27 second chances, that's the game there. You're beaten by 5. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of points to give up.
Well, as we know about the Suns team, we're a great defensive team. We really take a lot of pride on that side of the ball. It's I know, as you guys pointed out, that's why Nick Richards is being brought in. He's a little bit more laterally quicker. He's laterally quicker than Nurk, and we get beat on the wing so often that teams drive into the post, and then Nurk has a hard time turning around. Like if somebody's trying to back down Nurk is a great interior defender on that. He's going to make it difficult on that guy. But if you can't hold your man in front of you and Nurk has to slide to help, that's where we've had trouble all year long. And then somebody ends up with either an uncontested, mid-range shot or a semi-contested at the shot at the basket. And we have to play up tight on them because it's a 3-point shooting league anymore. And so you got to keep that pressure up, but we don't recover that quickly. And that's just not our game. So yeah, we gave up a lot. This one sucked. I'll be honest.
Not winning in Atlanta for like 11 games straight, as you pointed out, Bruce. Like since Devin Booker was in, was it the first year in college or high school?
I believe
the last win was in 2014 in that building. It's just one of those teams, man.
So much going for us too. Like former Suns great David Roddy even helped us out in 16 minutes. He scored 0 points on 0 of 3 shooting. We even had help from our players. Good old David Roddy. Yeah,
David Roddy had a good summer league at least to get him that opportunity somewhere else. And
did you guys remember the play at the tail end of this game? It just sticks out in my mind where the Hawks, I think, stripped Kevin Durant, and I forgot who it was, but they sent the ball, just kind of like lobbed it to the front of the court, towards their basket. I think it was Bogdanovich, or was it? I'm going to butcher his name, Vit Krejci. He runs and goes and like secures it, and none of the Hawks have like come down because I think they thought it was going to be like, oh, he'll just run in for a like fast break layup, and only Kevin Durant got back, and he took a one-legged off balance shot, and basically like that was like, oh, the Suns are going to keep this game close. We're going to maybe take the lead in a basket or two. Kevin Durant gets stripped. Hawks toss the ball up. The guy's like, oh, nobody's coming to help. And he just takes an off balance, fall away, one shot. Kevin Durant got it. And I was like, we cannot bank on them doing stupid stuff like that moving forward. and we couldn't. And in the end, we ended up not being able to get the win in this one. But I remember that, and I was like, what was that? Even the announcers were like, not even a single Atlanta Hawk has even crossed the half court yet. Like, that was a terrible shot. Just wait till your team shows up. You'd get an easy basket.
But KD was unbelievable in this game, right?
What's that?
KD was unbelievable in this game in terms of scoring. Was it this game?
I mean, 31 points, 13 of 20 shooting, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He's got 3 turnovers. But, shooting-wise, he did well. Led the team to
turnovers, rebound.
Couple steals, couple blocks. Like, KD's not the problem on this team, I don't think. Maybe I get frustrated with his lack of outgoingness. I don't know. But he just churns out quality play. And we get frustrated with a lot of other guys, but, As I've said before, when you have one of the greatest to ever do it and you're not winning, then I do put a little bit at his feet. So let's move on to the game that wiped away that loss, made us feel a whole lot better. The Washington Wizards game, and hey, we were shorthanded. No Josh Okogie, Nick Richards not yet with the team, and Bradley Beal. This was sad for him. He sprained his ankle in that Hawks game. I forgot. We haven't even mentioned the real deal Beal. But Bradley Beal sat this one out to rest that ankle. He usually likes to go off on his former team. But Suns still get the win, even though it was 130 to 123 in the end. But in the fourth quarter, the Suns were outscored 26-40. The Washington Wizards are the runaway worst team in the league. The Washington Wizards are playing Jordan Poole. Kyle Kuzma, can I just say this real quick, too? Because I know a lot of the Planeteers have liked the idea of getting Kyle Kuzma in a Suns jersey for years. Matthew Lissy of Suns Jam certainly has been a big Kuz fan. Thank God. This guy's not playing well. Nobody's playing well in Washington right now. I think they get bonuses if they shoot terribly. Kyle Kuzma had 5 points, 2 of 4 shooting, starting, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. That would be a tough player to see in the Suns jersey. The Wizards, who are actively trying to not win. I mean, they have one starter play over 30 minutes. They give us a scare. But once again, Devin Booker, 37 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists on 10 of 24 shooting. Gets himself to the line for 15 shots, puts in 13 of them. Kevin Durant backing him up, 23 points, efficient, 8 of 16 shooting, 6 rebounds. Ryan Dunn teaches the centers how to rebound. He gets his first, double-double, 18 points, 11 rebounds. And Mason Plumlee, 6 points, 9 rebounds. Oso Ighodaro, 0 points, 3 rebounds. We had a Bull appearance where he got 3 points in 4.5 minutes. He's not a point a minute guy. Who's spreading this rumor around? This guy's hey, Grayson Allen, 8 of 12. It's hard for me to be like, oh, look at that great stat. It's the Washington Wizards. They're not trying to bust their tail on defense. They're trying to get through the season to see where the ping pong balls go. And the players that are somewhat talented are trying to maintain their value for future contracts. So that's kind of how I kind of look at the Wizards game. So what do you guys think?
Well, to point out,
did it make us feel better? That's
to point out that comment from Mr. John Voida. Oh my goodness, it did give that game really gave us a scare there the last quarter, and I think
was it the worst tasting win of the season?
Could be. You could say that. But I don't know how many 40-point quarters are we going to give up to these bad teams. Really, I think John has kept track of it. I think 40 and 30 points a quarter. So check him out. But we cannot play basically bad defense on this league and to anyone anymore, despite their record. Or otherwise, we're just gonna lose. Come on.
Yeah. I was about ready to go off my rant on how we're supposed to be this offensive powerhouse, which still hasn't become the case, and we're playing worse defense than we were last year. So the Suns won't do it, but I will. Frank Vogel, I didn't hate you, but I'm reducing the amount of blame I put at your feet, sir. You weren't the right fit, but you also weren't to blame.
Yeah, I kind of feel with this game, it was just kind of tough. I went live before this and before the Wizards game, and I was saying how it should be a must win, and everyone was in my comments was like, "Well, the Hornets was a must win, and we lost that game, or should have win." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you were right." And then it started to come back to me and eat me alive towards the end, and I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh no, please don't come back!" But yeah, like you guys mentioned, I think just the defense has been atrocious. It's been worse this year. Can't be having games where we're allowing 40-point quarters, even 30-point quarters, like multiple 30-point quarter games in versus some of these weaker Eastern Conference opponents. Once again, they had a 20-point lead for a majority of this game, and they were in control for the second and third quarter throughout most. And then in the fourth quarter, it just seemingly fell away. And I feel like with this Suns team, we've kind of noticed a trend where it's mainly been the third quarter this season where it's been the kryptonite, but there has been one quarter where the team just comes out offensively in a funk and defensively just lets up a lot of opportunities. And that's what has kind of allowed some of these teams that the Suns have been playing to get back into a game, regardless if it's out of halftime or going into that final quarter.
Well, and I think the problem for the Suns, too, is that we have a target on our back because we have so much star power at this point, especially with the Kevin Durant, that if you're a young team that's struggling, it's fun to play against one of the greatest that's ever done it. And it's fun to try and embarrass him. When we were the Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul team, I feel like we would just smoke these clowns. Like, we would take care of business. We'd get out. Now, don't get me wrong. Chris Paul is also one of the greatest to ever do it. But if you're a Washington Wizards player and you have to put your sneakers on, go out and play again, don't worry, you're going to lose. You've only won 6 this season. You kind of get excited. Kevin Durant's coming to town. What if you beat Kevin Durant? How cool would that be? Would that kind of make your week a little bit better? So I think that's almost kind of the problem, is that we don't get a off game. We don't get we can kind of take it easy. Kevin Durant played 32 minutes and 40 seconds. Devin Booker, 38 minutes, 52 seconds against the Washington Wizards. They should all be sitting on the pine before the 30-minute mark. We should have blown these guys out. Instead, they're like, oh, man, what if we beat Kevin Durant? And they almost did.
It's that extra motivation, going up against the greats.
I think we know who this is, but I like to hear Al's voice anyway. So let's talk Player of the Week. Your Shazam Player of the Week is Devin Booker. I'm not going to do any other talk. It's Devin Booker. There was one guy actively winning games for us this week, and it was the Devin Armani Booker. Great to see it, too. We've been waiting, for multiple game stretches like this. I feel like throughout the season. He's had games, but usually he doesn't string them together as much. I'm sorry. We do have a Dunn sighting. Dunn did have a double-double, so it was against the Wizards. But it's good to see. He's a rookie, not bad. He's a late first rounder too. I always want to keep focus on this too. Oso and Ryan Dunn, in some cases, both are starting for a team that we thought was going to compete for a title. They're playing next to a Devin Booker. They're playing next to a Kevin Durant. And we are asking these two guys who I feel like any other team would just be like, you're on the back end of the bench just learning how to play. And Suns are like, we're going to need you to rebound for everything. We're going to need you to play defense. We don't do those things here. I'll give some credit to Ryan Dunn. He'll be my backup Shazam Player of the Week. Player of the Week. Okongwu. Terracotta. I get it. It makes a lot of sense for sure. Let's see. Let's forget that Wizards game, and we are coming to close. So I've got a trade idea, and me and Dervish of Whirl, Paul from Fanning the Flames, just went off in a chat yesterday of this idea that we had where, Kevin, as you remember last episode, I said, I hope we don't go 2-2 this week because stringing it out is worse. I wanted to see us obviously run the table. 3-1 is so bittersweet. But I thought actually better than 2-2 would be 0-4 or 1-3 because this team needs a massive shakeup. And one of the things that me and Paul from Fanning the Flames were discussing was not necessarily even the blow it up maneuver, but KD's got to go. Why do I think KD's got to go? Why am I leaning that direction now? It's nothing that he did wrong. It's that he has value. He's signed through next year as well. He's still playing very well. And teams are going to want somebody like him. Beal is a harder person to trade. He's got that poison pill provision of a no trade clause. You trade somebody like a Nurkic, what are you going to get back? I mean, we had to add second-round picks to Josh Okogie's contract to get rid of that. Grayson Allen,
No value.
good player. People will want him. What you can net for a Grayson Allen, is that going – or could we bring in somebody for a Grayson Allen trade that's going to make us go, now we're set. Now we're set. So we were kind of brainstorming. Personally, this is where I differentiate from Paul. I think if we did find a way to get Beal out and bring in a Jimmy Butler, I think you go that route. I think you give it another shot to kind of invest in that. But right now, I'm leaning towards sending Kevin Durant out. And like I said, nothing that he did. So here's the trade idea that I've got. And first, let me take a look to show you, break down real quick. Where is he? There he is, Mr. Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant this season is averaging 27.1 points per game, 6.4 rebounds. God, he's worse than I thought he was. You're a power forward, man. You have to rebound. 4.2 assists, 3.2 turnovers. So don't worry, team that's acquiring him. Every assist you get, he will just about wipe out. But he is shooting 38% from three, and he's shooting over 52% overall. So Kevin Durant, still a very quality player. You'd have him through next year. What could we get? I thought, okay, you got to probably trade him to a team that can acquire him that is very competitive now. So here is my theory. Let me know what you guys think as I add it to the stage. And that's probably difficult to read. So I will go ahead and read it for you. So I apologize. You see, there's a lot of things that are going to happen in this trade. But we are going to trade Kevin Durant and the 2031 second-round pick. I forget which one we actually still have access to in that Hornets trade. But say second-round pick, Kevin Durant to the Rockets for Steven Adams, who has a $12.6 million expiring contract, Jabari Smith Jr., and who's on he's got 2 years left, under $10 million. Jeff Green, an $8 million expiring contract. Jock Landale, a non-guaranteed 3 years, $8 million contract per year. And Cam Whitmore, 3 years left at 3.3 and increasing. And then, of course, perhaps the most important of it, recouping those 3 first-round draft picks that the Rockets took in the Nets trade. So I turn to you guys. And let's start with our guest first, Bruce. Obviously, the first thing that Paul brought up is, well, the Suns can't acquire that many players. You'd have to let some people go. I said, well, I'm very sad to say that Bol is going to have to leave. Damian Lee's going to have to leave. We have one roster spot open. And obviously sending Kevin Durant out. And then I think, who else did I say is going to have to leave? Somebody else on a minimum contract on this team, right? That's not doing anything. Either way, we're going to release some players.
You could replace Mason by bringing in this.
We'll bring in a third team and send some of these guys out as well, because we probably won't need Jock and Nurk and, all these centers coming in. Steven Adams.
So I personally like this deal. I think that the Rockets would be a team that would be interested in Kevin Durant if the Suns decide to go in this motion. And I'm not too against the kind of retool/rebuild on the fly if you can't get Jimmy Butler this year. I think that's kind of the two directions the Suns really have, is to go all in for Jimmy this year. If you don't get Jimmy this year and you don't get to where you want to next year, there's going to be questions being asked about Kevin Durant. So I think that a possible trade would be possible. I think the Rockets are a team that would interest me. I think two other teams as well would be the Grizzlies and Thunder, all depending on, because they have nice draft capital pools as well. But I agree, if you're the Suns, try to get some assets back, try to kind of retool on the fly, because Beal isn't the most tradable contract. And depending on what draft capital you get back, plus extra draft capital that you're going to continue to keep adding on in the years continuing, you can use that to then maybe move off a Nurkic or Beal contract to then get even more flexibility going into the next season.
Yes. No, and Darth Vader, this is an idea you came up with. Yes, 100% this was my trade idea. Paul did not sign off on this trade idea, but he did sign off on he was okay with trading away Kevin Durant. Michael says, you trade KD or Book in the summer, better value in the offseason. I disagree, if only because of this. Kevin Durant will be on a 1-year expiring deal next year. If you're a team that wants to compete now, you want to bring him in, see what you can do, and then know that you still have him next year. Yeah. And try and get him to re-sign, I think. My concern is this team right now we're in the 10th spot. We're in the last play-in spot right now with our record. And if we, for some reason, do not make the playoffs, why would Kevin Durant want to sign an extension? And then I think we lose some value on KD's contract. This is some Lisa's level shit. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you for stopping in and raining on my parade of fun today. Again, exactly kind of what you're getting at here, Bruce. This recaptures our first-round draft picks. Remember, we traded even more picks away to get KD. I'm just asking for our three back, and we're not going to be a trash team, so I think it should be doable. Cam Whitmore, young player on a lower cost contract. Jabari Smith hasn't really panned out as well as they had hoped, but still, I think he's like 22, 23 years old. Hey, Suns, we're used to that kind of stuff. Don't worry, they'll develop. Dragon Bender's going to be a star someday. We could take that risk on. Lord knows we need people that know how to rebound. Jeff Green, a great wing, an interior defender, less so wing now, I guess, but he can defend. Steven Adams, our boy Hamill wanted him forever. I think this could work potentially if the Rockets were hungry enough to try and push all their chips in, because they're second in the West right now. Adding a Kevin Durant for a lot of guys Jabari Smith's injured right now. He broke his hand. I just think that we're not asking for players that are really contributing to the Rockets right now in this trade too. Kevin, what do you think? Is this just totally like favored in the Suns towards the Suns?
I think if you're looking at the future, then this is great because you have Cam Whitmore there, Jabari Parker, as you pointed out. Cam Whitmore is a solid player. I think, well, at least when he plays against the Suns, he's always good. And of course, the draft capital there. But the Shbi is going to lose face because he said he didn't want those picks back. But in a sense of I'd say that this is like a small portion of a rebuild. Because you still stay competitive. I don't know if I'm gonna do this trade in a heartbeat because it's relatively a young season and things could go the Suns' way. Maybe end up with that 5th or 6th spot. But I don't know. I don't know yet if I'm gonna do this trade.
Oh, interesting. So just for some kind of feedback, we have 10 games left before the trade deadline. I'm going to read them off to you. The Pistons today, Cleveland Cavaliers, Brooklyn Nets. Before we return home, we take on then the Wizards, the LA Clippers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Golden State Warriors, the Blazers twice in Portland, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So Cavs, Thunder, it will be very tough to win. A lot of the other the Timberwolves, the Clippers are better than the Hawks who just beat us. There's a chance we go 5-5, 6-4 before the trade deadline. So as much as you say it's still early part in the season, true, but you got to make up your mind here in 10 games. And so that's why I think it would be interesting.
That's going to be the tough
deal. Booker says he wants out. I don't know. Would he though? If we retool like this, that's why I view it as a retooling. Like, hey, it's not working out here. We gain that flexibility. It lowers our cap. We get our first round picks back so we can trade it all in for something else moving forward. Try and move Beal in the offseason. But I think our team would not be – I don't even think our team would be worse if we did this kind of trade right now. We are a 500 team right now. I do not think we'd be worse. So it'd be hard to tell Booker, hey, we're going to need you to lose this year. No, like I don't think we'd be any worse. I don't think we could.
You see John's comment?
A retool. God, Boyd is hating my trade. I'm gonna have to write my first ever Brightside article now on this deal. It's going to be up there with Hamo's reputation of saying that Bradley Beal is not the third best player. Which, in retrospect, now maybe Hamo was right. Beal's off the bench. It was Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen is not our third best player. So
let me ask you a question.
My theory. You don't have to like it. that trade, for example. But as I mentioned, right now, if the playoffs started today, we'd be the 10th seed. We would get a date with the actually very hot Sacramento Kings at the moment in the play-in tournament. If I'm not mistaken, I think we'd play them. Or would we play the Dallas Mavericks, maybe, who are without Luka Doncic at the moment. So, yeah, I don't like where this team's going. That's why I thought let's consider trading Kevin Durant. I'll turn the question back to you guys. This will be the last question to close us out. Would you consider trading him before the trade deadline? Why or why not? Or what move would you want to make? How about we'll kind of mix it up. So, Kev, what do you think?
I'll pass it over to Bruce first.
There you go. Bruce. That's a smart move.
I'm going to say that they should not trade Kevin Durant. I think that over these next couple games, you did present that they are. I was counting on my fingers when you were going over them if they were winnable or losable. And I got a 6-4 record kind of going off of my predictions. So I think that the Suns could kind of go around 500, if not 500, at least on these next couple 10 games, which proves to Durant and to this team that you still want to compete and win. So I don't think a Durant trade is happening this season. But if they were unable to get Butler and they were to have a playoffs similar to last season or a worse playoff outcome compared to last season, then I could see something where they get something done.
My concern is just, again, especially if we don't make much improvement here, and if we're just looking for a first round out again, does Kevin Durant say, you know what, that extension sounds like I want a max, no trade clause, I want the works if I'm going to be sticking around here, or he'll just say, I'm not doing it. This team's not ready to win anymore because Richard Jefferson told us that he doesn't like Devin Booker anymore. And Richard Jefferson is Kevin Durant's best friend. Right, Kevin?
Yeah.
Right. Well, let me ask you real quick, though, Bruce, before I go back. So, what can we do to improve the team before the trade deadline if it's not breaking up the big three?
So,
or maybe you just keep shopping Beal desperately.
So I think that shopping Beal is going to be the main priority for this team. I think Ishbia has presented himself to be aggressive, wants to kind of get this winning motion in now with Butler. But if he's unable to do that, I could see them using the contracts of guys like Tyus Jones or Grayson Allen to either get more draft capital for this team to then pursue the Jimmy Butler deal to kind of push it over if they need the extra draft capital, or they could use some of those contracts to go and get other pieces. I know you brought up, and I've had this conversation with a bunch of people on Suns Digest, but Kevin Durant doesn't get a lot of rebounds for this team. Who's the backup power forward? Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal doesn't get a lot of rebounds for this team. This team needs an athletic floor rebounding type of guy. Now, I think as of a guy that fits perfectly is a guy in Obi Toppin. Now, I don't think he's available, nor would the Suns be able to have a contract to go get a guy in Obi Toppin at this very moment, to my knowledge. But a guy very similar to Obi Toppin, or even a guy that's showing shades of Obi Toppin, either in the draft or possibly out in the league as a younger piece that hasn't really developed. I think Matt Ishbia should be targeting a guy like that due to the fact that that could be a growing piece, I think, for this team as well. And I'm all on trade the Bull for Duop Reith train. I want a shooting big in here, another Australian big in here. Duop Reith has been absolutely sent to the bench by the Blazers, and I am a big believer that he could bring some valuable shooting to this team. And I think he could be what Budenholzer wanted with Nurkic as a shooting big with obviously Duop Reith, just obviously a little bit weaker in every other category.
Have you written an article on Duop Reith for the Bright Side? You have? Okay, good. I want to go read that because I looked at, when I started hearing this Duop Reith rumors, I went and looked him up and I thought, oh my God, this guy should be on the bench. He shouldn't be in the league. This guy's a trash can player. He takes out the trash. He's a trash man. But not in a good way. Like, I would play Bull over him. That's how I feel about Duop Reith.
Really?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, his numbers are not impressive at all. Let me pull it up real quick.
This season, he's been the fourth string center for the Blazers team, which has been tough. But last year was his, I believe, rookie year with the Blazers, and he was actually able to find himself a pretty decent role. He had some solid shooting percentages with the Blazers as well last year, and I think it brings a different type of outlet big for the Suns, like we see with Nurkic. They try to use him as a shooting big, didn't really work out. Nick Richards isn't going to be the best shooting center. Oso can score and can shoot a little bit, but we haven't seen him able to stretch the floor, and Bol hasn't gotten the playing time to do so. So I think if Budenholzer wants
if you're telling me it's just getting rid of Bol for this,
yes,
I'm willing to roll the dice. But Duop Reith this season, averaging 6 minutes a game, but that's out of his control. Shooting 38% from the field, 32% from three, averaging 1 rebound a game. Now, as you mentioned, go back to last year. He was 27 years old, and his first year in the league, he played about 18 minutes, 46% shooting overall, 36% from three, rebounds 3.7.
Yeah, not the best rebounder, but
no, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
It's
I get what you're getting at. Brooke Lopez was not a great rebounder either. He was a good interior defender that could go out to the corner and just sit on shoot threes. Maybe that's if it's just getting rid of Bol, I'm okay with it, I guess.
Yeah, the Bol minimum contract does, like, his contract meets into it to where you can do it, and I don't think they'd have to give up draft capital, but
this is brutal. To operate for the sake of making trade ideas. Brutal. Go back, focus on Home Depot. You got a pretty big little Saturday plan for yourself, Mr. Voida.
John's just hating you.
I know. God dang. This is tough. He's already traded me away to Rockets Planet. Kev, all right. So we talked about some trade ideas. Do you consider trading away KD, or who do you try and shop? What do you try and do to fix this team? You got 10 games to make your decision.
I think I'm gonna agree with everything that Bruce said, just to save to save time there. But I'm with stay with the course with KD past the trade deadline and try to see if you can get Bradley Beal off the team and get some, a miracle and get some assets back.
Okay, well, we got the Pistons game. They're the 21-20 Detroit Pistons. It's in Detroit today, this afternoon, and then we go to Cleveland, take on the 34-6 Cleveland Cavaliers, and then we take on the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn, who are 14-28. Let's do predictions and then move to the closeout, I guess. So that was our last question. This is just prediction time. So I'll go ahead and kick it off first because Kevin, I know you're just going to pass it right off to somebody else if I give you the hot potato. But I'm going to say we're going to win. I'm going to go negative. I'm going to say we're going to go 1-2 this week. We're going to drop to the Pistons, drop to the Cavs, take care of business against the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm going to be here next Saturday, Planeteers, saying, what is happening with this team? But that's how I feel right now. If we pick up a win against the Pistons, that's going to be a quality win. But I think I'm going to lean towards 1-2 right now. Especially as I think Nick Richards is likely to play. I think he's joining the team today.
That is what they say.
Right. But I'm sure there's going to be an adjustment period. So get ready for the adjustment loss period. So we'll see. But Bruce, what do you got for us?
Over the next 3 games, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go 1-2. I think that they'll be able to beat this Nets team. Cleveland is, as we all know, a tough opponent versus the Thunder, and we're no retrospect to the Thunder at this point. So I think that will be might be a little bit of a wash, but who knows? Maybe the Suns can pull off a Wizards or Hornets vice versa with the Cavaliers here and get a sneaky win. But I think that Nets game they should be able to take care of. They should be able to handle business. The Nets have struggled a little bit this season, obviously being a younger team wanting to rebuild. And I think we'll see Nick Richards make some solid impacts as well. Like you said, I don't think it'll be necessarily right away as there'll be some adjustment period, but I think we're going to see his rebounding numbers go up. I believe he averages around 6 rebounds or 7 rebounds at this point. With the amount of shots that the Phoenix Suns take on offense, I think he'll be averaging around 9 to 10 rebounds if he's a starting center.
Okay. Kevin.
I'm going to go 2-1 this week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's a positivity.
With the win against the Pistons tonight and, of course, the win against the Nets. But tonight is going to be a tough test. The Pistons are actually 11th in the league in rebounding. So that's going to be a good test for the Suns and Nick Richards, a newcomer. So we'll see. We'll see, man.
All right. Well, that's true. Jeff, imagine the adjustment period for Jeff Green. He'll be ready by November next season. My feelings on this team have not changed since last week. This is still very much, and as we saw with the rebounding, this is where we're at.
There's only one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you. S-A-W-F-T.
team's soft. Let's see how soft we're going to be. Like tissue paper? Hope not. Al McCoy, take us home, buddy. We'll see you next week, Planeteers. Let's get some wins.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. The guard hurt. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good!
Al McCoy with you courtside. Bumped up a three.
Suzanne! He ties it. Hey, D.A. Al and Tim up here.
happy
buddy.
birthday!
Yeah.
I know it's the moment. Happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, three-pointer straight away.
Suzanne! I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years.
That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long for now.